Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you all and welcome to this meeting of the Estate Management Committee. The first thing to talk about is representation from interested parties. We do not have any this evening, so we can move straight on to the agenda. And the first item is apologies for absence. Rob, you've got the sheet next to you. Do you want to either give it to me or somebody call out the apologies? So we have apologies from Councillor Arnold, Councillor Ball, and Councillor Wade. If we can record those, and if we can all say that we're happy with those. Thank you very much. Next item, EM 2529, is declarations of interest. To receive and consider any declarations of interest from members under Section 50 of the Local Government Act 2000, Standing Order 13. Firstly, to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest, and secondary, to declare any other interest. Anybody got any interests of either kind to declare? Not as far as we're aware. Okay, thank you. Next item, representative of interesting parties. I've already dealt with that. So we can move on to minutes of the previous meeting. These are the minutes of the meeting held on the 3rd of June, 2025. Are you happy that those represent a correct, an accurate record of the meeting? Do we have a proposer for those minutes? Councillor Clark, Councillor Fordham seconded it. All those in favour? Thank you very much. If I can borrow your pen, I will just sign them off.
Say no, say no.
Well, I was wondering, there was a pen on the...
There's a pen here.
I didn't know how to say it.
You stole it.
That's what Chris said. Pen there. Should be a line in the budget. Replacement pen.
Right, those are duly signed. Thank you. Whoever's pen it was.
That's the firm's pen.
Oh, right, that stays there.
You were taken.
That stays there. Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the reports. The first one is EM 253201 to receive the I&E report for the properties and open spaces. Here we're just simply receiving these reports. I will, of course, allow people to make any observations or ask any questions, but does anybody have particularly anything on the I&E report first of all? Any observations that people want to make on that? No, in which case we then move on to the monthly open spaces report. Obviously, we will refer back to this when we talk about items separately, so I think we can take that as given. And the third thing is to receive and discuss 3 to 5 year maintenance plan action. Again, we've talked about that at a previous meeting about how we might be able to streamline these reports and help the running of the meetings and discussion. What I would like to do, Lisa, is get the date in your diary when you and I can sit down, hopefully sometime over the summer, to look to see how we might do that and then come back to the committee with a proposal.
Yes.
So does anybody want to make any comments or suggestions on any of those? If not, I will move on. So the next item is Fletten the House. And again, if we go back to the update report, which I am just doing now. The first thing is Further to the recent doodle poll, we've got to talk about the open spaces inspection, not specifically to do with Fletton House, but we do need to do this anyway. So where are we with that, Lisa?
So there's no clear forerunner in the doodle poll currently, and I've thrown a spanner in the works because I've had to put some annual leave, so I'm actually on annual leave next week,
Right,
which was one of the weeks that we've nominated. So
indeed. So do we need to look at more dates or?
that's what I was going to ask you, do you want me to add sort of another 2 weeks at the end of?
I think that's probably going to be the only option, isn't it?
Yeah, okay.
At this stage. So if you could get that out before you go on annual leave, that'd be much appreciated.
Okay.
And then the next item, 3302, NNC land to east of Fletton House, lease now completed. Discuss how it might be repurposed and used. Discuss and decide next steps. Now, just to remind people, I'm trying to think where we are.
Just straight out that back door.
Just kind of out there.
You don't have a look, yeah.
Where's the alarm?
No,
And there are stairs there.
yeah, but you can see it from,
I didn't know what it was about.
yeah.
Right, that's why I wondered if you didn't, that's why I thought.
I'm seeing it.
You've seen it before. It was the sort of play area for the preschool, wasn't it? But they
Sort of like a building ground where anywhere else.
That iron fence there is NNC library. The Atlas Road, is our little bit. Then that's the car by the down to Morgan Traffic. So it's a little bit of morning sun. What's the history of this thing?
Well, for the last 10 years, we rented it up North Northampton Council, and I think we sort of hoped they'd give it to us when we were renegotiating this 10-year lease, but they didn't really. Well, they never offered. I think Emma hinted heavily.
So it's still a leasing arrangement.
10-year lease, yeah. Yeah, I think something like £1, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we've all seen it, if we can move back in from the door, if we can do that. Without setting off any alarms.
I'm going to put the chair in case they all watch that.
You want to let go then?
Yeah. Okay, so we've all seen the space, including those avid watchers on YouTube. So the question really is, what do we want to do with it? Has anybody got any ideas or suggestions that they would like to throw up? At the moment, it's difficult to access and it's overgrown. We can keep it that way, but it seems a bit of a waste. Is the library interested in using it at all?
They approached us a while ago, when I think we've got about 3 years, maybe 2 years left on the lease, and said, what were we doing with it now the preschool had left.
Yeah.
And they did sort of, I said to them, I'm pretty sure OTC is keen to continue using it and we'll be repurposing it. And I did say to her, although I don't think we hand it over to you, we'd possibly be happy to do something with you. And then I never heard back from them. So, and because it was coming to an end, we thought we'd wait and see whether NNC would actually still grant us another lease or give it to us.
It would seem to me that given the adjacent, the fact that it's adjacent to the area that's there, the playground area, that should certainly be a possibility. So again, if one could reactivate that discussion. The other thing is, it's a bit of a wasteland at the moment, a bit of an eyesore. Do we need more storage facilities? And is that an area that we could use for storage? Or is it something that Nobby and...
I'd have to check with Emma because I know with North Northampton Council, when they were talking about renewing the lease, they were quite keen that it would be used to better advantage.
Right, so it's a limited use.
I'm not sure whether there's anything in the lease that says it can't be used for storage. But when Emma and I spoke about it, we thought it would make quite a nice area for like a bug hotel and those kind of bits that children like to come and see. Sort of like a nice nature trail or something like that. And I've got a feeling NNC sort of were thinking more along those lines of something for the community as opposed to maybe as using it as storage, but I can check with her.
Again, that's another interesting idea. The only thing I would say about anything like that is then the maintenance is required to go alongside it. Ian first and then Val.
Is it worth seeing if Blooming Owl or Flatton Field Association would like to or get involved? There might be a storage area that they could open up for like hotel, potting things, whatever.
Yeah.
Which is
And maybe having a greenhouse there or something like that would help Blooming
So
Owl.
I'll check with Emma first if there's any restrictions on what
Oh,
they
absolutely.
said, and
Yeah.
then-
Obviously, we've got to understand any restrictions that might apply.
Well, I was going to say the same thing, except a little bit more in that it could be, it may be that for Flatton Field, we have to acquire things as sort of time goes on. It might be Portaloos or something, and I mean, it could well need somewhere secure to store things. So I suggest we don't rush into it, but
No, absolutely. I don't think there's any need to.
gradually,
Yeah.
maybe.
Let's explore options, and then when we've got some options to consider, then we can bring them back here, and then if need be, bounce them to full council. Rob, do you want to throw anything onto the table on this one?
I don't think there's a usable space.
It's not large, as you can see. I wouldn't know what it is in terms of square metres, but it can't be more than about 75 square metres, I would think.
It's like a triangle shape, it's a bit of an odd shape as well.
It's a very odd shape, like almost triangular. So, yeah, I think that limits what one can do with it. Okay, well,
sorry, just one other question. The fence down here with the gate in it.
Yeah.
Is that our fence
I
there?
think so,
So we could potentially look at putting a bigger gate on that side.
because the reason as well that we needed to keep that bit of land was because our main gas point is out there as well.
I think it's best to keep it.
that's the other issue.
Yeah.
And what we can't do is create a security issue as as a result of anything that we may do.
And it is one of our escape.
Well, the escape route goes
Round to the front.
not into that bit, but down here. Okay, well, I think there's a starting point for you, Lisa. Before we move on, I'm just going to look at the open spaces report. Consideration this month, softening of fence line. That's the
Gate.
That was, with the gate.
That's kind of, have we not talked about that one yet?
We did, but I think we deferred it, didn't we, till, I think we said we were going to have a better look at it on the properties and open spaces tour.
So we'll do it then.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And also replacing south boundary fencing, which again will come up in the report. So if people are happy, I will move on to 25.3.4, which is maintenance, workshop vehicles, equipment, blah, 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 blah. 01 workshop discuss fence line. I've just raised that. Curiously, it's under Flatton House. Oh, no, sorry, it is under maintenance. My mistake. So I don't think we need to say anything about that. We've just agreed that we will look at it during the tours. Vehicles, nothing to report. Gosh, that's equipment, new ride-on mower. That's all kind of being sorted out now, is it not?
Yeah, I was just waiting for.
So that will
to get back to us.
come off the agenda. I've already looked at the things on the open spaces report, so we can move on to the hub where it says nothing to report. I'm just going to again have a look at, no, there's nothing there at all. So that is generally nothing to report. Courthouse, again, we want to see the update report, which I'm looking at now. Actioned last time, this is letter to be taken to Annex Office 3, tenant confirming OTC can clear and dispose contents. EO to arrange visit to the tenant to obtain signature. So, have we got a signature?
Not yet, no, I've not had a chance to go over there to live in Corby, so I've done the letter. I'm aiming to go either tomorrow or Friday.
Best of luck with that. Service and maintenance of fire alarm costs are forthcoming year. They've been approved and booked. I think they were approved at last town council or meeting. Then we've got the roof survey sent to contractor for quotes on other works identified in surveys. That's ongoing, as is the lift. And that again will come up very much in the visitation of the estates. Does anybody else want to raise anything relating to the courthouse? In which case then we can move on to car parks. And again, referring to the report. This is a quote for the line renewal that has now been approved at full council, and we're going to draw on that from reserves. It will happen obviously after work's been
Yeah,
done.
because they've offered us a discount,
Yeah.
you know, you asked me to approach them,
Yeah.
so until this
So
is
it's lined up, it's ready to
It
go,
is, yeah.
it's just, it's in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So Easter Road. Potential, this is the, again, tarmac repairs. I'm sure that will come up in the estates visit yet again. This is, again, a kind of almost perennial. It's the extent to which we wish to expend large amounts of money doing the car park when the underlying problem is the trees creating the disruption to the tarmac. And also we don't own it. And we never seem to break out of that cycle, which means that it remains as it is. What I have suggested before is that it might be worthwhile doing the lines if we don't do the tarmac. Again, it will come up, no doubt, as a result of the estate's visitation, but I don't know if anybody wants to comment on any of those things now. If not, we'll park it until the estate's visit. And it will come up exactly the same as it did last year.
The only thing, the transport group met yesterday and there was some discussion about whether it was worth talking to the owner and seeing what their plans were after all this runs out.
Yeah, I think that has been actioned before. I mean, I completely agree with the sentiment. Lisa, do you want to comment on that?
I know Emma's had conversations with him. I don't think they've ever been particularly pointed or direct questions asked. But now that we've, I think, less than 5 years and we're on the lease,
Yeah,
something like that. Now that it is drawing sort of to near the end, it might be.
Maybe we could open those discussions up again to see whether or not, and it'd be nice if we could purchase it, because then it would be a secure car park for the future and we could invest in it properly. I think the danger is investing in something that has got less than 5 years to run on a lease.
I copied and pasted, I don't know whether you, I'm sure it was David Chappell that commented on this bit where it says, some felt that until the long-term plans of the car park could be confirmed, this huge expense would be delayed. Local plan part 2 indicates it is agreed that this should be kept as a facility for Oundle. And I remember him saying that, that's why I put it in here, because if the local plan part 2 and Northampton say that it's got to be kept as a facility for Oundle, does that mean it definitely does, even if it stays in ownership of the owner and not us?
Yeah.
Because that would mean, if it does, that would mean we don't have to buy it, we don't have the outlay.
Well, if we could, we're not going to resolve the matter here now. If we could start the dialogue. I think that would be helpful. In the meantime, hedge trimming, tidying up, that's all now part of their monthly schedule of work.
Yeah.
I haven't been there for a while, so I don't know what it's looking like, but we will discover soon when we're on our visitation. Let's hope it's an improvement of last time I saw it. Oh, sorry, Rob, I didn't see
I
you.
think we discussed at the time as well that some of the hedges were too big for the maintenance team to deal with. Is that right?
Yeah,
In that
they
case,
get, they've got too big, yeah.
they got too big.
Yeah.
Where are we now? The big
Well,
hedge
there's a lot of
side.
stuff can't be done at the minute because of nesting season and birds and everything, so I think they're gonna tackle some more of it. Sort of when the summer's over, I think they've done as much as they can
Right,
now.
right.
And then now, but I've made it very clear, they've got to do little and often to keep on top of it, to stop our car parking spaces being taken over. So, yeah,
So you're on the case.
hopefully.
Excellent, that's what I like to hear. Thank you, Lisa. So we can, oh, sorry, we've not talked about the co-op car park, but there's nothing really to say about that, is there? So let's move to public toilets. Not move to the toilets, but to discussion of the toilets. Replace all pipework and budget for new auto hand washer dryer in the ladies' toilet. I thought we had already,
I can take that off actually,
Yeah.
because that's on our wish list, but it's
Yeah.
not necessary, they're working at the moment.
it's
so-
precisely, it's kind of on the wish list
Yeah.
already. And I thought we even put a nominal sum to it. I thought I did at one stage.
Probably, but they're about £4,000 each.
But it will come up again in the visitation,
Yeah.
and we'll make sure that it's noted on that. Okay, let's then move on to other properties and open spaces. Again, the first thing is the Rugby Balls Tennis Clubs. This is 3901. Occupation Road replacement sign for the clubs, discuss options and decide next steps. Now, there is a document to do with this, which I think it's, it's in our pack. It's a Word document, proposed replacement of road and sports club signage. I'll invite comments on this at the moment. Ian may particularly want to say something, since he's mentioned in the document, and has clearly been instrumental in having discussions with them. The one thing that I can't see, it says on the second page, we have attached a preliminary estimate for a reputable specialist sign maker, which gives an indication of the costs involved. I couldn't actually see that anywhere.
Did you send it me?
Did I send it to you?
Yeah.
Look.
I know I attached the document from that you sent, this was what, last month, wasn't it, but then referred. Oh, let's check in the report, it might be in.
Maybe you can find it and we can have a quick look at it on the screen.
Yeah, there was an estimate attached from Elementary Signs and Farnham, Surrey.
No, that's the document we have, but it has no attachment.
There's a Plaza Premium Sign Tray, aluminium, lots of lighting, £1,639. And the installation would be £825, or dedicated delivery of 290.
Dedicated delivery as opposed to what? Just delivering it?
Dedicate the sort you pray.
I'll run them on, get it out and see where it lands.
It's going to be less than installation.
You're delivering it to the right place.
The total at the bottom, including VAT, is 3,324.
For a sign.
For multiples.
Yeah.
On the proposal, it says,
Right, Rob, over to you.
on the proposal, it says the 3 clubs, so they can, are willing to contribute in some way. Perhaps the removal of all signage, the installation of the new. So
Yeah.
presumably some of those costs would be met by the club.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They say willing to contribute in some way, removal or signage installation. I didn't know what that meant until,
Exactly.
yeah, so they're talking about maybe 800, whatever, plus VAT, maybe a third-ish of the price perhaps. Is that right? It sounds as though it might
It does
be.
say in there the
The total at the bottom of this is 3.5, so there's prices plus VAT.
that's the
I mean, I think at the moment we don't have a sign there, do we?
Yeah, we put the old one back up.
Yeah.
It's a bit
Oh, you
shallow.
put the old one back up there? Okay. And I think it would be nice to have something there. Without wishing to both protract and complicate this, again, Rob, you may not be aware of this, but we own the land on which the bowls, tennis and whatever, rugby, football club are located. And we rent them at what I would call a non-commercial rent. We rent them out at a fairly non-commercial rent. So the reason I'm labouring this point is that it might, if we're going to put a new signage up, I'd quite like a statement to that effect, if you see what I mean, that this is actually supported by the town council.
They suggest that in the front, don't they? The main colour will be black, the town council logo in the top centre. And then 3 signs for the
I
club.
was thinking slightly a bit more than a
Yeah,
logo,
absolutely.
just, I'm not anything elaborate, but something just explains that this is supported by the town council.
There's possibly a greater opportunity linking to something else in the report about conversations that I had with Berries last year about the uniformity of signs going on to St Meadow and the Riverside Walk leading up to it and all that sort of stuff. This could be an opportunity to link into that.
And that would be nice if we had that uniformity, definitely. I think that would be very much welcome by the full council, but also by the community at large. It would just give the school do it very well.
Yeah.
You know.
And I was zipping around behind Barnard Castle last week, and you go out of the village and out of the village, and you suddenly come across an area that was run by a different estate, but they all had a commonality of information sign. What to do when you're walking on the wall, that sort of thing. And it just hit home every time you saw it. It was the same sign, same information, same style.
So
Linking this in with that.
what I would like to propose is 2 things. Is first of all, you know, they've been waiting for us to respond, and I think we should respond saying that we are keen to take it forward. We are coming up to the time when we do a general review of properties, and we would like to look at signage not just for this, but for multiple parts of our estate, and look to see if we could embed this within a wider solution. Is that my proposal? Do we need to vote on that, or do we need to formally propose it? Are people happy with that proposal? Something along that nature?
Yeah, it's
Well, you look very thoughtful.
I'm just thinking that it might be something that the whole council might just like to,
Oh, absolutely, but I think it's up to us to put that proposal
because it's
first.
kind of
Yeah.
a feeling, it's
Well,
almost changing.
It cuts across many things, so, you know, Ian Castlemaine, quite sure, and would say, well, this is our marketing working group, you see what I mean? It's the way we present ourselves, so I think that doesn't mean that we shouldn't move ahead with it, but I think it will then get taken up by other interests.
Maybe when you said, we're suggesting to them or saying to them, we're thinking of moving ahead with it, it sounded a little bit like
A
as
bit,
if we were
yeah.
actually going to, and it might be totally different.
Yeah. Maybe we need to tone that down a bit and say, you know, we are looking at this positively.
Yes.
Yeah.
and that idea of the
Yeah.
whole signage.
Yeah.
Just on that basis, 2 points. We've got in the Occupational Road Club budget £1,907.25,
Yeah.
which we've spent £135, so we've got some money which we could use. The other thing is, my first thought when I saw it is we've been pretty good on recycled plastic, and it's going to last a million years. So whether we should look at alternatives from the same provider that are maintenance free, won't need replacing in 10 or 15 years, but That's one to look at.
But also in terms of cost, the unit price might come down quite substantially if we badge it across the estate.
That's very true.
So I think unless anybody's got anything more to add on that, we can move on. Thank you for your comments. So I'm just going to go back to the open spaces report and see if there's anything else there that we need to talk about. Rugby Club Broken Tree reported not on report. Oh, has that been picked up by the other tree report?
I contacted him and basically said that to indicate the tree that he had reported. And he said he came back, he said he's looked at all of those trees, he didn't see anything to be concerned about. But I just said to him about it, and he said, if you want me to come back and take a closer look, then I will. But I just said to him, well, rather than you make a special visit, if I get our tree surgeon to have a look, because he's local.
Yeah.
And then if he thinks you need to come have another look,
So we'll take it forward in that way then.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Fine. So we're now on to 3902, recreation ground, play areas, etc. This is the costs of 3 replacement litter bins, 50% of the litter bins we have there. Repair the worst first and the remaining 3 in due course. There are pictures on these. These are the litter bins in question, are they not? Or are they other litter bins? These show us the extent of the damage. They do look a bit sad and worn, do they not? And there is, at the end, Middlesbrough Still litter bin, 112 litres, which I think is possibly a tad bigger than the existing ones, is it not?
according to the size, there's no.
Well, it just looks bigger to me.
Yeah,
It's just
the size is not.
optical illusion. It looks very smart. It looks very much like many of the litter bins you see elsewhere. You will see that with VAT they are £439. Can we approve those costs? Ian?
I don't want to say the words recycled plastic again, but I'm going to.
I did look at the plastic ones, and Nobby just said metal for fires and things like that.
I would worry about fire a little bit.
Because the plastic ones are cheaper, but and they're the ones I was getting quotes for. But when I showed Nobby and said to him, can you take the dimensions and check exactly what they are? He said I would get the metal ones.
We can recycle the metal.
We can, but the thing is that they're going to wear out again in 10 years. Yeah, the recycled ones are about 10 litres smaller and a third of the price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they.
Do we have a lot of fires down there?
I haven't known any, but oh no, I have. Sorry, but not in the bin, just on the rack.
I'm going to take Rob. Can we maybe, can we look at the recycled plastic ones? Rob, there we go. It's the same.
Longevity, how long have these bins been the wreck?
Is that the same company?
Same company, same website.
Yeah,
It's direct.
yeah. Well, Nobby's been here, I think, 11 years, and they're not new since, they've not been replaced since he's been here. The issue with these, if you see where they go at the corners, it's because of animals, dogs. It perishes the paint, and then the water gets in, and
So
they start breaking.
It's dogs urinating against them.
That's the main.
And the plastic bin would not have quite the same problem.
No.
So I'm, again, I've been persuaded that maybe recycled plastic is the way to go, but what do others feel? Cheaper, durable.
I think, why not? It's not the end of the world. I mean, if they don't last as long, then we will go back to find something else.
Well, and particularly if the metal bins are, shall we say, suffering in a way that the plastic ones would not.
Dogs
But
are
it
going to be
appears to be
around.
biodegradable. And that's what.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a risk we take. I mean, if you put a fire in a metal bin, it's still going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So,
These are 90 litres, those are 112. That's
Which is, it's
not
not
here
here there, is it?
So it's part of their maintenance term. Yeah. So anyway, so it's not going to be out of the way of filling up with rubbish.
No.
It looks smart.
so in which case then if we could order 3 of the plastic ones,
Yeah.
save some money,
Yeah.
they look smart, and they'll hopefully deter dogs. Well, they won't deter dogs, but they'll.
Just one thought before that. Do we know that ground fixings on those circular plastic bins would fit on this cubic concrete?
Yeah.
Having watched, there's a very nice video of a man with a drill. Yeah. And, it's a good bin video.
So they actually drill them into the footing.
And it looks like the fixing kit looks much the same, but there's a video.
Yeah, I think we've had enough. Thank you, Councillor Clark.
I don't think we need nice new suits.
No. Right, let's move on. So we're now on to 3903, green spaces. Again, signage, we talked about signage across the estate in general. Going back to the rec ground. Park at the Wharf, but that's been approved. Sorry, I didn't see that there. I should have declared an interest, but that's been approved, hasn't it?
I'm just reporting.
Yeah, we're not discussing it. No, good.
we're not discussing it.
Right, in which case then let's move on. So let's just check that we haven't missed anything else. Bucket seats on existing thing approved and ordered, that's all been done. Extend and improve the area. Rob.
This is something that we discussed a few times, at playground and the rec as well. Used to be chasing supplier, because we ordered that a
A while ago, yeah, I can't remember her saying that there was a long delay on it or anything, but she's checking with her people, she's gonna come back to me. But yeah, it should be any time soon, I would have thought. It's about 2 months ago, isn't it? I know some of these things do have 8 weeks lead time on them,
They're fairly standard buckets.
yeah,
I think we looked at it in stock.
yeah.
Also, just on that point, cleaning and freshening up the piece, presumably it can be done separately from any discussions around extending it and investing it. And it is looking pretty dilapidated.
Is it, yeah.
Including, I mean, to be honest, the swings are unusable at the moment, because the pigeons sit on top and pull up the swings.
Right, okay.
So, if it's part of that cleaning and freshening up, we can think about it.
I'll chase them about it,
Pigeons.
because I have put it on their monthly schedule to check when they go and check all the areas, check for.
But I don't know if we can think about
And
putting just a pigeon, you get
Yeah.
plastic spikes, the pigeon just put on top.
No,
And
absolutely.
therefore the cleaning isn't an issue then.
No, that's fine.
How do we go about doing that? That's a fairly simple solution to a given problem.
Yeah.
Do we need to approve that? Or how?
No, all of those bits, because they're small bits, they can go on their schedule for doing. It should be on there anyway, but for checking, for cleaning, they do weekly checks of all our open spaces. So it should be known to, well, it is, it's one of the tick points, condition, cleanliness of the item, so they should be picking it up on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, open spaces, we're noting that we're getting the cows back at the end of this month. It also, pedestrian walkway suggestion update from Councillor Clark in May, when it's now July. Is there anything?
I've not heard anything, I've emailed Adam again. Just one thing actually is Constrop Meadows, they've now put one of their paths from where the houses are becoming lived in down towards joining up with the path.
Right.
And on the original plans, I went in, there were lots of lovely cycle lanes going down the road.
Yeah.
Oh,
really?
It is an connecting a cycle lane to Occupation Road and beyond. They've not approached us about linking anything.
I was going to say that's kind of a little irresponsible when they have no control over that.
Yeah, I suspect nothing will happen. I think this will just be a tarmac path that runs out somewhere. But we'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, I'll keep chasing berries and see if we can get hold of someone. Because there's again, connectivity. As more and more people use that path, they're going to want to connect onto Snipe Meadow or the walkway the other end of Occupation. There's a lot of dogs involved.
Should we also, in relation to that, use that as an opportunity to maybe talk to the grocers again about the land that's adjacent to Snipe Meadow? And
So the guy I walked around with last summer from Berries is their agent.
yeah,
And his idea was there's no point them doing something and us doing something and the other landowners doing something, we should all do it together.
yeah,
So he was hoping to get them together, but he was waiting on a report from one of his own agents to tell him what was the state of that. And the last time I heard from him, I've chased him every couple of months since November, he was waiting on that report. So
right.
it's not great, but
Is there any point giving a nudge?
gave one last week. So fingers crossed we'll get one.
Right, okay.
And it was last August, so it's the annual review.
Yeah.
Come and do something.
Indeed. Right, I think that takes us on to Fletton Field and the number of issues here. The first one is to nominate the chair for the OTC FFA working party and decide on quorum number. My memory when we last had a meeting with the Fletton Field Association is, again, you were there, Val. I don't have the minutes of the meeting in front of me, but I think we were suggesting that there should be 3 and 3.
Yeah.
The issue is what do we need to be quorate? And I think it gets a bit more complicated. Rather than just saying 3, I think you need 3 by which there's at least 1 from either of the parties. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So people are happy with that. That will be our
The
proposal.
forums of 2 aren't very popular, are they?
Quorates of 2.
How many is going to make it quorum?
Well,
Out of
this is,
6.
at the moment, I'm suggesting 3 that's quorate, not 2.
Oh, yes, okay.
Rob?
Because I was at the same meeting.
Yeah. So of course you were. Yeah.
Do we discuss where those 3 come from? Say there's 3 and 3 currently, but imagine a meeting where there's only 3 councillors.
Well, that's why I'm saying it's only quorate if there are members from both sides of the divide. Well, no, it's not a divide; it's a working group. I just think I'm conscious of the fact that there was a meeting about 3 months ago where there was nobody from the council there, and they had quite a long discussion. And to a certain extent, it was a bit meaningless without the council person there, because there's no council input. So I just think it's important that the core has to involve both sides. That's all I'm saying. But
Yes, I think that's what I was trying to say, is that if you've just barely got a quorum number,
yeah,
that they still should be both sides, rather
yeah.
than all from one side.
Yeah, and this isn't just about. I think it's in the interest of both parties that be the case, so it doesn't become either an all council meeting or an all FFA meeting.
Exactly.
So that's my proposal. First of all, on quorum. Do we really have to propose a chair, or can not the group elect a chair? The working party. Because otherwise it looks as though the chair is in our gift. Surely it's in the working party's gift.
I only put it on here because I thought you asked me to bring it back here.
I may well have done. Well, certainly the core issue we need to
Yeah.
resolve.
I don't know, I presume between you, if you get a full house, if all of you 3 and 3 are there, I don't see why you can't decide it, because it is.
I mean, also, I mean, again, what I'd like to propose, if we need to propose it, is that I don't think we necessarily need a standing chair. I think a meetings can alternatively be chaired by somebody from FFA and somebody from OTC. You know, I don't think it needs a standing chair. It's a fairly informal group. All it needs is somebody there who is going to essentially ensure that we go through the agenda in an appropriate way. Seems to me that that's a fair way of doing it. I don't, unless Rob again.
That makes sense, because it's a
Yeah,
quality of 2 parts, isn't it?
yeah.
I'm still a little confused about this core issue though, because, so there's 6 of us, 3 and 3.
Right, sorry, but what's the confusion?
Imagine a scenario where there's only 1 councillor and 3 Glenfield
Then we're quorum.
That's still really.
Yeah, so a minimum of 3, of which there has to be 1 from either side.
Okay, so-
Sorry, I'm sorry if I confused you. Yeah. Okay, in which case then, that's that bit done. There are other things, however. This is again going to be a bit of a tangled web. This is the hire agreement. We saw an early draft of this at our previous meeting. Ian especially and others had a number of concerns. Those concerns have gone back to the OTC staff. We've got a new version with comments inserted, well, yet more comments inserted within it. It's getting quite a confusing document to read as a result. I want to take comments and questions in a minute. Before we do that, I have one very straightforward observation, and that is I'm increasingly unconvinced that a single one-size-fits-all document is ever going to work. Because at the end of the day, the field will be used by very different groups and organisations for very different things. You know, having a vintage fair there where one might expect up to 2,000 people in a day, and I always use this as an example, and having a yoga class with 6 people one evening is just not the same thing. And for getting them both to fill in the same kind of form, to me, makes no sense. That's my personal view. So I'm going to open it up for debate now. Wow.
I think we need a one-size-fits-all.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think otherwise somebody will always have the responsibility of choosing. I can see Lisa nodding. I could really see it in your eyes, Lisa. Somebody would have to decide which was the right sort of form for everything that comes.
It's a fair point, and
Yeah,
my simple
that would
answer,
increase the paperwork.
I think simple answers to that would be based on the number of attendees
Yeah.
to the event.
That's the one thing Becca and I spoke about, because obviously it's Becca that orders all of these and tweaks all of these. And we were saying, what's going to be the deciding factor? And I think what we're going to have to do is do something that's like up to 100 people and then above 100
Yeah.
people, but still try and keep it quite simple. Because otherwise, if you tailor a form to every single, hirer.
Which we don't want to do either.
No, we don't.
It's just going to be too much work.
So, important intervention, Val. Other comments?
I don't know, we just go through all the green bits and maybe alter the wording and then get sorted
Yeah.
that way.
We can do, but I think it's important to understand if we are going to try and have a single form for everything. Because
I think the single form for everything, I understand the point. I understand the point that someone's going to make a judgment early on. The problem is that a numerical factor may not be the best
No.
So if you were
I
doing,
I appreciate that.
if you were doing a yoga session for 7 people, but you were selling alcohol, that's a more complex form.
It's yoga and alcohol goes together.
A teetotal appointments meeting for 101. That's, yeah, whether a simple form that's built in electronically with links, I don't know.
Historically, how's it always been done?
Well, we never have, we don't have the history.
Yeah, but we've leased the
The
properties to people.
Yeah, the rec, it's always just been a circus, so it's been fairly standardised with that as well, a circus or some sort of performing thing. Here, it's just been done by Rebecca looking through the application, and if she thinks, oh, you know, we might need to double check that a bit better or get proof of this. I mean, we're not going to be, I don't suppose we're going to be overrun with people walking the field, so I just don't know how we categorise it and do different forms of different, I'm not sure how it would work.
So Ian has suggested that we actually go through the colour-coded form that we have. My concern is that in doing that, so for example, this whole thing about public liability insurance, you know, the first question is value. Well, until we actually know, you can't really, I just worry, and particularly with the management plan, we're not going to need a management plan for most events, I would like to think. I'm not sure we need a risk assessment for most events. We would over a certain size or a certain whatever, but I don't know.
Well, it's technically not our events.
What?
So, although they're being held on flat field, people are renting the field from us, so it's not our event. The person who's responsible for the management.
Well, that's the other way of looking at it. All we're doing is renting the event.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, renting the
Yes,
space.
they have, you've got appropriate.
We'd have to check all of their documents, but it's their event, so it's their responsibility to make sure they're covered.
Yeah.
What do we check at the moment? First, so QBA,
Public liability insurance.
what do we set there?
I don't know, I'd have to ask Rebecca. I think it's for smaller things, 1 million, and 5 million if it's a big thing. I think that's what she said.
I just know Elizabeth does craft fairs, and when she does them, it's now more and more common that it's 5 or 10 million, and it's set at. And the difference in what you pay as a stallholder is £20 a year versus £40 a year or something. But more and more people seem to be going towards the 10
Yeah.
or 5, I don't know. But I think if we're going to say, do you have your copy of your liability insurance, we're effectively opening ourselves up to making a judgment as to what that level is.
And that's what worries me.
Yeah, and so we either say it's 10 million, or we say it's 5 million if it's.
There's another way of looking at it, he says, just putting it out there. We actually have a form that's quite minimalist, but what we have is a series of notes that essentially point out that this is where you kick in. You are going to need public liability, and that needs to cover these things. You may think about doing a risk register. You may think about doing a management plan. Do you see what I mean?
So it's basically just the front form. It's have you done this, have you done this, and then we say.
Where we're just saying, we're just renting out the space. That's your problem, not ours. Do you see what I mean? Because the moment we own that problem, you know, let's say that we haven't spotted something in their risk register, or, as Ian said, they've got a PLI for 1 million, but in reality that's too low. Well, if we haven't picked that up and told them, then we potentially become liable. Do you see what I'm saying? I think it's a very knotty problem.
So basically, we should just have a very basic booking form, but with something added to it, which explains what we expect of them.
Yeah.
Which we sort of do already.
Yeah.
So the things I picked up on last time were areas that we didn't explain what our expectations were.
Yeah.
So the privacy policy, I've read the privacy policy, or what LNER and Stagecoach, I've read Arundel Town Council's privacy policy, and here's a link to it. Yeah, I've read that, it's fine too. And they're not at them, but we've said that's what we expect.
Yeah,
I think there's a difficulty of over-engineering it,
yeah,
where we then become overly liable.
Mm.
And also, it means that the staff here spend too much time verifying an event, which is what the event organizer should be doing. Do you see what I
you
mean?
see, that's what I mean with like.
We need to be clear to them about what their responsibility is and where our responsibility stops.
She more acts from, duties from taking an application for the food festival because it's our event. She has to go around and check everything.
And that's different because we're the event organizer.
Yeah.
It's a bit like with
That's
me
what
with
I mean.
Party at the Wharf. I need to do that because I'm the event organizer.
Yeah. So it's your responsibility
Yeah.
to make sure.
And
everything's right.
I'm using the field by Tappan Kitchen. They don't require me to do anything. They're just saying, you're just using the field.
Mm.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
So the owner of the property where it's happening
as long as
basically-
their property's safe.
basically
it's
washes their hands of
Yeah.
it. Yeah, the responsibility is all on my shoulders, well, the Creative Arnold shoulders. Do you see what I mean? So in that sense, looking at that, I don't see why we should have a different model.
No,
Does that help? Sorry, it's been a protracted conversation.
Well, we've
I think
gone
it's,
round full circle.
I think we have, but I think it's probably-
With the model that-
are people happy if we move in that direction?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's just, if we don't decide it tonight, it'll be September.
Yeah.
And we decide it again. I'm going to sit for an hour in the Nissan dealership tomorrow morning. If I play around,
No, we haven't. This is where it's confusing. We're now on other OTC assets. Moth traps.
I think a lot of these just stay on the agenda, don't they?
no, I'll put it on there for an update, so you were gonna contact that seller, didn't you?
I did.
So
What's
that-
the issue here? It just says,
He was interested in doing moth trapping on Fletton Field, having seen the film about moths in here at Docks Plus last month or the month before. I mentioned it in the last nature recovery plan, there was much excitement, but I've not had back.
so we just pass over it and wait.
They're there, people want them.
Yeah, so War Memorial flag poles, nothing there. Pollinator, nothing there. Greenway project, nothing there. Trees, well, we've got compost bins first.
Yeah.
Compost bins, discussants suggest, this is 3909, discussants suggested a compost bin sites of Fletton Field Cemetery, St. Peter's and other suitable sites. There isn't a paper or anything on this, is it?
No, this is just an observation really from what I've seen and a conversation with Nobby about years ago, they did have a compost area at cemetery. We've still got the issue with some, I think it's private people who come to mow and trim their own graves, dumping
And then putting the compost in a heap.
away from, in various areas, but we find them in random places and then we've got random people.
This is particularly with the cemetery, not St.
Cemetery,
Peter's, yeah.
But I would say, well, can't we just go back to having another compost? Then people know where it is, they won't just dump it in random places. And of course, with having Fletton Field now as well, we wondered whether that would be a good idea because then you're reusing stuff. It's, if we do it right, we've got fertiliser for trees and things like that. And they're fairly simple to build, aren't they? Just basic.
Oh, yeah.
So we were just thinking of going back to how things used to be, and doing it that way, but.
So Ian first and then Val.
So Nobby and I talked about this back in May, I think, and I mentioned it to Clive and Fletton Field Group, and they're excited by the idea. We thought those bushes backing onto the tennis courts would be an ideal location on the western side. They're sort of out of the way, the fencing behind it. Clive was looking at some kits They're about 1,000, I think, it will take.
Oh, right, okay.
But I don't know if anything's come of that. Obviously
He's not said anything
But-
to
but I
me,
think-
no.
The idea is straightforward, the idea is beneficial, and whether we have them elsewhere, we can trial it here and see if it works.
Val, did you not have your hand up?
I did have my.
Yeah.
Just fine.
How, how are they managed? I've somehow missed.
Well, I think the one at the cemetery, just, I think John used to empty it as and when it was needed. and
So
spread
already
it around.
empty it?
Well, you just spread it around, don't you, if there's any, where the wildflowers and trees, we've now got trees down the cemetery that we've planted as well, haven't we, so it'd be useful for that. Down here, it would be useful for all the bits and
I
pieces
mean,
that they've
that was
planted.
my worry, yeah, because I was thinking
Yeah, once
people might get
once it's
rather keen on
compost,
the
So
idea.
that's the sort of thing that
Yeah.
I was talking
Yeah.
about, so
Yeah.
compost bins.
yeah, yeah.
And the idea is that eventually, when he's planting trees or
Fine,
whatever it is, you just take
so that's
compost
the
out.
council compost.
Yeah, and at the moment, all the stuff from the cemetery goes out.
My worry was that we'd have more compost than we could possibly use.
I'm sure people will
Because
take it.
when we-
Horticultural
It
society.
would be deep.
Yeah,
Free,
I
presumably.
think we could get
That
rid
that
of
was
it.
the other thing about the
Blooming
management.
Arnold might take it.
Yeah.
I think we can, I think you're right, there's a danger that we create a problem as a result of doing it, but I
Yes,
don't think
that's
there
the
is.
worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that problem is fairly easily solved.
Yep.
Rob, any issues with it?
It seems very reasonable, to the same as the
Okay.
we've resolved.
So Lisa's just gone to do something, so I think if we're effectively approving that idea, we'll notify her when she is back. Trees, let's start looking at that, because we've got a big tree survey to receive. So basically, we've approved the idea of the compost bins.
I went to the trial one here,
Yeah,
to start off with, or do you want to do the cemetery as well,
no, I thought we were going ahead for the
the two?
full set.
Okay, oh, yeah, brilliant.
If I send you the link that Clive and I were talking about, you
Yeah.
can check with him and do stuff.
We're now moving on to the wonderful tree report that we have. This is realistically to receive it, which we kind of had done, but I would obviously like to invite any questions or observations. It looks an incredibly thorough report. That was my initial observation. But any other?
There's 9 trees he's put as priority 1 for this year.
Yeah.
And then those lines in the red that have the epicural or epicormal, whatever it is, epicormic growth off the bottom. Can we do that ourselves? I think we had this conversation last year, I think the year before. I think we can just trim that.
Yeah.
So if we can ask the boys to do it. And then maybe get quotes for all of those
Yeah.
9 plus those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what we're up against. Because they're going to be dealt with over the next year.
I was going to say, having received it, I mean, I don't think it's up to us to question it. We're not the experts. It's a very thorough report. What we've now got to do is action it. So, and actioning it, I think, is relatively straightforward because of the thoroughness of the report. You know, we've got a very good idea of the condition and the priority of work. You know, they very kindly have done, you know, year 1, year 2, year 3, etc. So we start with the year 1s, we get costumes, we move on.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Lisa?
There's one there's not as many this time. Last time we had it done, there was quite a few that were required work within 3 to 6 months, so that's quite.
Yeah, these are all, I did notice that everything is, the year is the minimum figure on this as far as I can, oh no, there is one that's less than 6 months. 3 lines.
There was lots last time, so that's
Yeah.
good, that shows you that it works,
Yeah,
keeping on top of things.
yeah. So if we can pass that over to you for actioning and your team, that would be very good. So we're now on to St. Peter's Church. Again, I just need to go back to the update. I don't think there's anything there. We talked about the sorry, not recycling, composting. Maintenance to schedule repairs over the school holidays. That's being done, the scheduling over the school holidays.
Well, yeah, it's on their thing to do, but they're waiting until everybody's gone home.
Anything to say about the parking issue? Is that, it doesn't seem as
Not
though,
had any more reports,
no.
but I don't know whether you guys have seen.
Yes. So, yeah.
no.
Still every day, lots of cars.
1, 2, 3 or 4 every day. I was wondering if, when we're walking around doing our observation, there's an area of space, if you're looking west along the north side of the church, there's one car that was parked on the path. And I'm wondering whether one of the solutions might be to accept that it's always going to be there daily, but then put a parking space on the left-hand side nearer the church and say, that's where you park, so you're not in the pathway.
In the pathway, yeah.
Because it's the frustration is it backs right up down the path.
Yeah.
I think that's a good suggestion. The only other thing maybe to add, I'm conscious of the fact, because I have seen copies of emails. Oh, looks like Tony has just arrived.
Okay. Sit on the throne.
Sorry, I've seen emails between whoever is the padre there and the mayor about setting up a meeting, so we might want to basically prime John and say, is there something you want to feed into the meeting?
Sounds good.
This is probably a school teacher. Our school teacher. No, we don't think so.
No.
Because I mean, they do tend to want to park in the wash.
It's not the wash,
Oh, it's
it's
not.
the area on the north side of the
On the
church.
north, okay.
So anything else on that? If not, I'm just going to break for a moment. Tony, lovely to see you. You've got an incredibly good chair there to sit in, which we put there preferably, for you deliberately. What you may not be aware of is that Estates Committee meetings start at 6 o'clock.
No, I was listening and watching
Oh, I see.
while
Okay.
watching the tennis and having my tea.
Okay. No, that's fine.
But I don't want to interrupt the meeting.
Well, you can't technically. Or you just have done.
But if some of you are willing, there are a couple of things I'd like to say after the meeting's closed.
Yeah, no problem at all. I was just worried that you'd come expecting it to be the beginning of the meeting when it's the tail end of the meeting. So the cemetery, again, this is about repainting the other sections of the railings. That's been put on hold. Why is that on hold?
It was, the costs were very expensive, weren't they? We didn't have the budget.
So I think we should still get a quote, and I think if need be, we need to go to full council and say that we need to go into reserves. Because it just looks very odd that you've got a bit of the fence painted, but not other bits of the fence painted.
Or we all go and do a bit of painting on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, if you remember as well though, the community payback started doing it.
Yeah.
But I think
Indeed.
relying on them is just.
Okay. The other thing here is the list of charges for the cemetery. This is always a vexed issue. Consider increasing standard fees and removing miscellaneous charges. You preempted me. Can you also make that a little bigger by any chance? Perfect, thank you.
So we haven't put the fees up in
No,
a very long time. And also these miscellaneous charges at the bottom, I very rarely charge people for searches,
No,
because if it
appreciate
takes me
that.
2 minutes to look on the database and find the details,
Yeah,
if it takes me a little bit longer and a bit more digging, then possibly, but they're just, I think,
Good plan.
I think they're quite excessive.
Yeah.
£27 for a copy of the burial right is quite excessive when you consider it's just a photocopy. In fact, I don't usually ask for them. I usually, if I found them, I just send them a scanned copy of it.
do you know how much the General Registry Office charge for a copy of your birth certificate or death certificate or marriage certificate?
£12.50.
Point is that-
£12.50 though, not 20.
That's quite cheap, yeah, but anyway. Okay, we discussed this quite some while ago. It's a complex issue. We looked, I seem to remember, golly, 2-ish years ago when we looked at what other cemeteries and local authorities were charging. We noticed, well, there was one clear observation, and that is there is no such thing as a standard fee. They are incredibly variable. And we seem to be roughly in line with some of the areas around us. I think the other part of the issue, which is why it's the vexed question, is because the cemetery will fill up. And in some respects, although it's a very important community resource, we have got to realise that we've got to move more to the burial of urns and things like that than full burials, just because of the space that we have. So it's a very complex, it's a very emotional set of questions. That's all I will say in way of introduction. We could decide to do nothing, to keep the prices as they are. We could decide to look again and see what other local authorities and town councils are doing. We could raise it in line with inflation. All sorts of options are available to us. Rob?
How close are we to capacity? So how many more burials do we realistically have?
4 years, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
It depends on when the extension comes and what we do with it, but
Again, you may not know, but we're due to have an extension to the cemetery as a result of the houses being built. So part of that is having a gift of land that we can extend the cemetery into. As yet, we have not made a firm decision on what to do with that land.
Okay.
We might, again, all up for discussion. It might be a woodland burial area. It might be, do you see what I mean? So the point is there's not a simple answer to your question because...
So the reason I ask it is thinking if we were to increase the prices, it's probably a fairly limited amount.
It is limited, We're not talking about a decade, we're talking about quite a limited space in time. Any views?
I'm looking at the Northbourne House website at the moment, and if I were to go to, I'm not sure, Kettering, maybe, Corby, somewhere, the charge is somewhere between 425 for baby or child's grave up to double adult 1200. So we're right below those. The other question I had is what decides a non-resident as opposed to a resident?
Again, I have issues with this as well, because what it's supposed to be is at the time of their death, they're an Elmer resident, but you have lots of situations where you've had someone that's lived in Elmer for 50 years, and in the last few weeks of their life have gone into a home somewhere else, which I think is unfair. I don't think, because it says basically the premise of a resident fee is they're already paying to the upkeep of the cemetery through their taxes that they pay as an Oundle resident. So those people that have lived here for 50 years have done that, but just by sheer, you know, nature of what's happened to them have moved away. So I always class them still as a resident, an Oundle
So
resident.
it's essentially people that have lived in town.
Yeah.
that have had
People that
residents.
do not, but like it, what coming from Peterborough. and
Yeah.
Dorking.
Yeah, which you'd be surprised we do get.
Oh, yeah,
People
I'm
that
sure.
want to be buried here, even though they've not got
Yeah.
family here. But
They have the best intentions to live here.
Of course. So is there an argument, and I'm just floating this as an argument, to raise the non-residence fee with that level of weighing up what's a non-resident and resident more than the resident fee? To act as a disincentive. Just try and, I can't imagine there's many people that want.
there's not, no. I don't know.
And at one level, you know, we can stick with the current policy and the rough ratio of costs. And when we can no longer bury people, you know, in coffins, then, well, that's it. Job done.
We could have a discussion when we've actually got the land for the extension,
I know.
because we'll be looking at the whole setup
Yeah.
anyway.
I think that's right. I mean, until we actually know quite when that land will be usable and what we then might use it for. And I think that again is something which will come here. We can make a proposal to the full council, but it'll have to be a full council discussion. You know, as I say, it will clearly be a very emotive discussion as well. It may be that we're best doing nothing in the interim.
Just on that point, if we were to raise the fees by inflation, which is what, 4%, that's not having significant impact on our costs or our anything, and it's not going to stop people.
It won't, it's not.
So there's no real point in doing it. But then the miscellaneous charges, do we want to remove those? Is that?
We can remove those miscellaneous charges. As I said at the beginning, you know, one option is that we just go by the rate of inflation.
But again, I think we can look at that when we've got the land and we're doing a review of what our services, and what else to do.
Right.
You mentioned removing the miscellaneous charges, but do we officially have to have them listed tonight?
Possibly,
But your discussion,
yeah,
say you're
yeah.
charged, so we keep them listed, but we just.
Yeah.
So you could put miscellaneous charges. That's a word for it. Normally,
Yeah.
So what I'm still confused about, we had differential views whether we're going for inflation now or we delay everything until we know more about the extra pocket of land. Well,
I'm of the opinion we delay, leave as is.
I think that's Val's view as well.
Yes.
I was merely saying that we could go with inflation, but then it would make a fine bit of difference to everything, so.
In which case then, let's end the discussion and we'll keep it as it is, in the understanding that we review it alongside the extension of the cemetery so that we can make a clear statement about our strategy for the future. At the moment, we have no idea what that strategy is. Okay, right, thank you. Let me just close down that document and go back to my open whatever document. So, town CCT, oh no, sorry, I missed the bits at the end. It's covered by my paper. Joan Strong, refresh boundary fence, that's been done now?
Yeah.
Excellent. We've been waiting for a year for that. Good, excellent. Really pleased to hear that. Marketplace. We agreed, did we not, at last full council about the electricity MU, that's all been signed. So that's all going ahead.
It's being installed next week.
Yeah, trial in October. So that's all very positive. Thank you for those that have worked on that. The town events, we had another successful food festival. The weather was on our side this year, unlike last year, when it was pretty miserable, and unlike the Christmas one, which we had to call off because of the high winds. So congratulations to all of those that were involved. Please, I think we should note the thanks to the team that put that all together and worked hard on the day. Environmental flood water issues, it says here nothing to report. Street lights, that's the Bassett Place, that's all now been approved, and the installation is being arranged as we speak. And now we are on the town CCTV, where there's nothing to report. Next one is energy EV charging. Now, key thing is we are going to start installing solar panels soon. Woo! Whoopsie. I thought I'd never be able to say that. We've only been talking about it for about 18 months, and they will start next Monday. No, next week anyway. Excellent. Obviously, we can see all the scaffolding. That work is going to be completed very soon. Quote for 2 extremities of the front section to be quoted for. That was to complete it. Where are we on that?
So they're going to complete the fascias and guttering while scaffolding is where it is, and they can do virtually all of it at the front, apart from these. No, not these. What's this? The old one. That bit doesn't need doing because it's new, but there's 2 bits down here.
Yeah.
The floor's uneven, so it will need quoting separately.
I thought we discussed that at full council, didn't we?
Yeah,
And I think so that's all just going ahead. You're getting the quotes and that's fine. We don't need to intervene at this stage. And I assume the charging points, there's no update. No. Other maintenance issues, I don't think there are any. Any other business for report only? Rob? Ian?
Nothing but a question. We've got a quote for some benches on Flatfield.
Yeah, they're ordered.
Oh, right, okay, that's fine. Job done.
Anything else? That's it? No? Well,
I don't have any.
and nothing from me. So, at whatever, 7:25, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you all. And